You actually talked about that in next episode.
Let me start that just section.
Yeah.
Just going to do that. So Yay, you're here. Welcome to How to Be a Grown-Up with CK and GK. Let's get started. Hello. Hi, my friends. We are so glad you're here. Welcome to How to Be a Grown-Up. This is the how-to show for moms who've ever said, I will remember that, and then immediately did not remember that because we, as the meme says, I do not control the remember, right? So thanks for sticking with us while we took a couple of weeks to just life, right? But today, let me start that again. Let me say this. I'm Caitlin. With me today, co-hosting for Jenny, is Ariella Monti, who is the author of the incredible novel Roots in Ink and the forthcoming Bound by Ink, which, oh my gosh, the cover is so gorgeous.
Right?
Oh my goodness. She is
I'm about to make it my whole personality.
I know, you have to. It's like deep purples and teals, and it's so gorgeous. Oh my gosh. Okay, she's a velvet voiced tornado of brilliance and kindness.
Velvet voiced feels like something I have to work into a book now.
I think you do. And I want the credit, just so you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, goodness. Okay. So today we are talking about ADHD and emotional regulation or dysregulation. So what I mean is this is why ADHD brains feel so intensely, common emotional triggers, including some that are specific to moms. And then next episode, we're going to get to tools for emotional grounding and self-soothing. Before we do that, though, I want to remind our listeners that if you like your books like you like your salsa, extra spicy, you can get Ariella's books for 20% off using promo code CK and GK on her website, ariellamonti.com, which I've linked in the show notes. Okay, so let's get started before I'm worried that y'all are mad at me for taking too long with this intro. Because that's real. Okay. All right. Okay, so I have a story. Y'all know I was a teacher. I'm just going to say this now. I'm a delightful human, right? And I'm a delightful human outside of the classroom and also inside of the classroom. And then a kid would come up to me and ask something innocuous, like, where's the stapler? Or where do I put this? You know, in January when we've been doing it for months. And I will respond like that child has personally offended my ancestors. Like, where the F did that come from? Like, I wasn't mad.
That is so real.
I wasn't mad. No. I thought I was in a good mood. And the kid just asks something silly, like, or says hello. And I'm like, and it just comes out of nowhere. And the way that I would describe it for myself is kind of like emotional whiplash. You know, just you're there and then this emotion comes out of nowhere. When I was younger, I got called too sensitive or told that I couldn't take a joke when certain people, I'm just going to say that, made fun of me or, you know, like horrifically bullied me, which was what was actually happening in school. And even now, like when I'm angry, I will ruminate on the reason that I'm angry. I will spin around in circles in my head and repeat myself like a toddler who wears themselves out by running around in circles. And it means that sometimes I can't forgive or I can't move on, and it makes me hold grudges. When I'm sad, it's like all that I am, right? Like I'm not anything else. I can't see out of that sadness. There's no way of coming out of it. I'm going to be sad forever. And then, you know, just put a puzzle in front of me or get me into Canva and let me start doing something that occupies my brain, and I will stop being sad and forget that I ever was sad. Right?
Right.
So,
yep.
Does that sound, it sounds like you can identify with that.
Oh, yes. Yes. I feel like this is just a daily part of my existence.
Yeah.
Like it's just like a foundational part of how I walk through the world.
Right. It is very whiplash feeling, 1 minute you're one way and the next minute you're the other, and they're so intense. So, I hope that if you are able to identify with any of those things that I just described about myself, you will have some value from this episode. And so, like I'm saying, if you've ever cried over spilled milk, or maybe your husband breathes too loud and you lost it, this is for you. So again, welcome to emotional regulation or dysregulation in the ADHD form. So here's what's going on. It turns out that ADHD doesn't just make us lose our keys, which I have recently done. It makes us completely lose our cool altogether. And there are ways to make yourself stop feeling like an emotional hazard, but we have to get through understanding why we are the way that we are first. So I have a bunch of sources for today. Of course, Attitude Mag CHAD, which is Children and Adults with Attention Deficit or Hyperactivity Disorder, and understood.org. And then if you haven't heard of the channel How to ADHD on YouTube, that's another great one that I would highly recommend. All of the sources and articles that I've used are in the blog post for this episode, so please go check those out. And of course, us, because ADHD. Right? All right. So
we are our own experts on our own lives, but we are not doctors.
No, not at all. And please seek help if you need it. So ADHD emotions are not just big feelings. It's actually an emotional hijacking, like a neurological hijacking. And the sort of more official definition is when someone's emotions are all over the place, way stronger than they should be, lasting longer than usual, popping up at the worst times, or leading to really intense reactions. And I would further add that sometimes these emotions actually interrupt your life such that you cannot do what is necessary to be done. Yes. So I'm going to read this quote that I really, really liked, which was by Dr. Thomas E. Brown, who's a clinical psychologist and director of the Brown Clinic for Attention and Related Disorders. He says, many with ADHD syndrome report disproportionate emotional reactions to frustration. Yes. A short fuse, a low threshold for irritability. I feel like I'm describing my child, but also that's me.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's like you're a smoke detector and you go off for burnt toast and also a large fire and everything in between.
Yes.
What's interesting, though, is that this emotional dysregulation, this increased irritability, this whatever you want to call it, is really common in ADHD adults and children too, but it's actually not an official part of the diagnosis and is not one of the criteria in the DSM-5, which is the current diagnostic manual for,
What?
No, it's not in there.
That's bananas.
Isn't it? It should be.
I could see... No.
No.
I am speechless.
Which is hard for someone with ADHD. We're often not. But the thing that I think is interesting about that is it's so subjective. Emotions are so subjective. I don't know that you can put a science. It's already mental health is already somewhat subjective in nature anyway because of how people feel things. So I don't know that you could pin that in there. But it is a very commonly recognized trait. And when I was going through my evaluation, the irritability piece was probably one of the biggest red flags for my personal evaluator. So let's talk about the science behind this. ADHD brains have differences in the amygdala, which is the emotional center of your brain, and the prefrontal cortex, which is the regulation center of your brain. So that's where you do all your logic and reasoning. So because of those differences, we have faster and stronger emotional reactions and a much slower return to baseline. That might be why you're still ruminating on something 3 hours later, right? And then because we also have low dopamine, we seek out emotional hits because dopamine helps you regulate your emotions. And so you might look for things that make you feel good or bad in order to kind of keep tabs on your emotions. It's an interesting thing. there's also that added piece of rejection sensitivity dysphoria. This is not just being too sensitive, okay? This is actually psychological pain or physiological pain, even like both. It's a response that is painful to any perceived criticism or rejection. So like when someone is making fun of you as a 12-year-old and it feels like it goes well beyond teasing and they hate me, and it's a very intense I need everyone to follow me around and tell me that they like me every 5 minutes in order to think that someone's not mad at me, right? Sort of feeling.
Right. If you want to trigger my RSD, just like respond to a text of mine with a thumbs up. And I am convinced like it could be genuine, like, yeah, no, got it. But I will take that as you hate me.
Right.
And I don't want to be your friend anymore.
Right. Ew. Yeah. Or like, so do the thumbs up and say, got it. And then put the thumbs up emoji in the response also, so that we all understand. Right.
Right.
So that's one example. Another one is like, if your friend cancels plans, you go, oh my gosh, they don't want to hang out with me. And it becomes a whole thing, even though it's like, no, they're handling a family emergency. Right. Like, right. Yeah, they got in a car wreck.
Completely legitimate thing.
Help me. Like, for me, it's like, oh, I didn't get as many listens on the podcast this week. Everybody hates my show. I'll never be successful. Like, it's just like the most extreme, illogical reaction, but it's real. And then it gets amplified. RSD gets amplified by mom guilt, right? Like, it's not just like, did I pack the snacks? Oh, shoot. It's, I forgot to pack the snacks. The teacher must think I'm a terrible mom. And I have to go fix this. Or it's one interaction where something feels off and you will sit there and spin over it over and over and over again. The number of times I have rethought about one instance where I may or may not have done something awkward and think that person hates me for life now. And they are like, I don't even remember that. Ridiculous. So,
and you're like, good, because I'm going to go to my grave remembering
think about it. Yeah. And when I can't sleep at night and I'm worried about why people hate me, I picture your face in that one time that your kid fell. Anyway, because of me, because I was distracting you. Anyway, that really did happen, and we can talk about that another time. So another piece of this with this emotional, whatever you want to call it, is that people with ADHD brains do not have object permanence, right? So if it's out of sight, it is out of mind. But that also happens with emotions. So just like we forget a physical object exists, we also struggle to remember emotional issues. And we struggle to remember that emotional states are not permanent. This is why if I'm sad, it's the only thing I am, and I will never come out of it, and I'll be sad forever. And then if I get distracted by a puzzle or something else shiny, I don't know, then I forgot that I even was sad at all. Like, this happens with grieving. Like the number of times that I've like refelt the same grief over and over again about a person that I loved being now gone is, an infinity loop. And that's because I forget in that moment to finish grieving. I don't think I ever actually finish because I get distracted by something else. Right. And it's just another treat of ADHD. The whiplash thing, that's real. So if you're a parent with ADHD and your kid has maybe, I don't know, some unpredictable behaviors every once in a while, you could end up doing what I did with the stapler situation earlier, which is like yelling about a single Lego, like completely losing your mind over one Lego. All the Legos are put away except for the one that you see on the ground, and you freak out about it, right? And then you have a shame spiral, which puts you into that RSD and tiny irritants like misplaced keys or spilled beverages or a student interrupting me when I'm saying hi in the hallway, or my partner breathing too loud, or your partner breathing too loud. My partner does not breathe too loud. Could feel like an emotional emergency. You just are so triggered by that. And ADHD brains struggle with frustration tolerance. So that's a big part of why we might freak out unnecessarily over something. And another fun fun aspect of this is that random sadness piece when the dopamine hit is gone, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you finish the project and now you're like, oh, now what? And then you get sad. And it's not just like, you can't celebrate that you finished the project. It's that you have to be sad that now you don't have a project. And so you go looking for another one, which is another dopamine hit and blah, blah, blah. So one last thing I have to add in, because this is a podcast primarily for women. I know there are men who listen, and bless you, but no. Hormones and ADHD. Yay! We will get into that at some point. This is not the time or place, but especially for women who are in states of fluctuating hormones, maybe, perinatal, menopausal, premenopausal in particular, and also girls going through puberty, especially like early stages when all the hormones are out of control. Those lead to like estrogen drops and then dopamine crashes. So you're not just crying because Bluey is sad, although Bluey will make you cry at the drop of a hat. It's real. It's biology. You're actually really upset about it. And you can't control any of it, right? Can't control the remember, can't control the emotion. It's all kind of a mess. Okay. So
never in control.
Never in control. Never. Just so bad for me because I need to control all the things. Anyway. Okay. So I'm going to also mention some common ADHD emotional triggers and how they might show up for moms in particular before we get to some fun stuff. So moms with ADHD, do any of these sound familiar? Yeah. Just nod along with me. And Ariel, you're allowed to say yes because you have a microphone. The overstimulation meltdown. Your kids plus barking dog plus like too many noises. And then someone turned on the overhead light and it's like fluorescent. Like done. Yes? Okay.
And then the AC kicks on and
boom. Like, feeling too many things at once. Oh, right. Yeah. Noise is my big one. The noise is where I get overstimulated primarily. Okay. The invisible labor resentment. Right? Like, what's for dinner? Yeah. Shut up, I will end you if you ask me one more stupid question. Or the RSD guilt spiral. Whoa, the teacher didn't say hi, or she just was like, hey, and then walked away. I'm a terrible mother. I'm horrible. I couldn't make it to I didn't volunteer for the field trip, even though I said I might be able to volunteer. And now I'm the worst parent ever. The teacher hates me. If any of those, you're allowed to check all three. It can be all the above. That's fine. Let's get into kind of what these look like. So overwhelm in particular is a big one. You have 47 things to do, so you do none of them. And then you feel guilty about it. And then shame spiral and blah, blah, blah. Okay. Or, and this is mine, the multiple ask moment. Ugh. Your kid is asking for a snack while you're folding laundry and the dog is barking at your feet or whining. If you ask me for something while I'm already doing another ask, I am triggered. I will rage, and I might not say it, but I'm like seething in my head. Like, and I've gotten much better about saying, I can do one thing at a time. And then ask me when I am done with this task. And in our house, I have to say, you'll know that I'm done when. Otherwise, it's just going to happen right away. So right. Yeah, that's a one. The overstimulation meltdown is another one. Again, the kids are loud. The dog is barking. The AC comes on and you cannot hear one more sound. Otherwise, you will lose it. Do you get those? I get like rage tears when that happens.
Yes. That, especially now that we're on summer break.
Oh,
I even stuff like, I hate to say it, and I will be crucified for this, but in those times, I can't even handle Bluey being on because it has the same sensory experience as having like multiple children in the house. And
yes.
I cannot handle it. And that's where you start getting like the fighting, the dueling, like sensory needs. So like I need it to be quiet, but my kid needs like the background stimulation so that he doesn't lose his mind. And like we're just at a stalemate because he won't listen to music. Like, just listen to music.
This is when I am a big fan, and I am not sponsored. We've talked about this many times. I'm not sponsored. I use those loop earplugs. That's a big help for me, just to like kind of dull the sound. And then if I have my big headphones on, like my noise cancelers, I will say like to the boys in my house, I'm like, I cannot hear you. I am not listening. Don't talk to me, because I'm not, I hate pulling the headphone off an ear. No, I'm not listening. I'm probably got my bilateral nature sounds going because this is all too much for me. So big fan of those. But it just depends on what your overstimulation is. I just find that sound tends to be a really big one for a lot of the ADHDers that I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Another emotional trigger: time blindness and deadlines. So I told you earlier that I was working on an assignment for a client of mine at 10:20 at night. Why was I doing that? Because it was due at 11 the next morning, and I had done stuff on it. I had been working on it, but like tinkering and not completing. Does that make sense? So yeah. So when just start earlier is like a joke if you don't have any urgency, like that, and then you start to panic. And then when you're in panic mode, some ADHDers are really good about being like, I'm in panic mode. I will get everything done right now. But others get in panic mode and get overwhelmed, and then they have that paralysis.
Shut down.
Yep.
Yeah.
The other one that is emotional trigger for a lot of ADHDers, especially women, is that that invisible labor component. Because you are the one managing, if you are the one who's the primary parent and you are the primary keeper of the home, you are managing anywhere from 4 to 50 bajillion tasks all at once. And if someone asks you, like, what's for dinner while you're managing everything else, that can be incredibly triggering and cause you to fly off the handle. And I personally think it's reasonable, but that's just me. So, it's an interesting set of triggers. But you can see, like, just in this conversation, how everything sort of ties back together, right? It's like one of these things causes the other one to happen, and then they all just sort of domino effect. And then it's like a domino where somebody keeps re-putting them up, and then they just keep going around in a circle. It's like it just keeps happening over and over. So the next time your emotions feel like a toddler with the megaphone, just remember that it's not you. It's just your ADHD brain being extra. And it is okay if you yelled at a sock or a single Lego or a paper towel today, because any one of us who can relate to this episode has been there before. So next week, we're going to hand out the emotional armor for you. How to short circuit your meltdown before you yell at that Lego or sock, and why you need a name for your ADHD brain, and a good phrase for stopping your RSD in its tracks. Okay. So follow, if you haven't already, go into your podcast app. You probably have your phone in your hand anyway. Just pick it up and then just make sure you hit subscribe to your feed so that you don't miss that episode, because the tools are really what's going to be the most helpful. We're going to be right back with some circle time. Okay, y'all. POV, you find a diary exposing forbidden magic, and the hot museum caretaker's life depends on you burning it. Roots in Ink, the debut novel by Ariella Monti, is the fantasy romance for rebels. Use promo code CK and GK to get 20% off your copy at ariellamonti.com. Again, that's all caps CKANDGK for 20% off on ariellamonti.com. Get your copy for 20% off today. Okay, we are back, and I need to know what your current hyperfixation is. I've talked a lot. Please talk.
My current hyperfixation is my flowers, because I am in North Carolina. It is mid-June-ish when we're recording, which means a lot of my flowers that I have planted over the past couple of years have started to bloom. But which is fantastic. And I love having little cut flowers. But my actual hyperfixation is when I'm walking around my yard watering them, going, I wonder how that plant would do over here.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Rearranging.
And right. And then thinning them out and digging them up. And now I'll do this I don't know, an hour before bedtime. So now I'm getting all sweaty at the end of the day and I'm not wearing the right shoes and I have to find my garden gloves. But no, I got to do it because
your brain is
Adderall
telling you,
off.
exactly. Your brain's telling you have to.
And I need to move my body. So now I am digging up yarrow. So in one spot so that I could go dig a hole in another spot and go, I wonder if this is going to work over here. Mm-hmm. Let's find out.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that happens. And I have to physically stop myself from doing much larger transplanting projects because like I said, it's 6:30, 7 o'clock in the evening. And that is not exactly the time that I should be digging up a tree to move it someplace else.
This is like when I was a kid and my mom would tell me to clean my room. But instead of cleaning my room, I would go on a quote unquote organizing spree and then everything would be out. Right. And my mom would come down and be like, what are you doing? This is not cleaning your room. What are you doing? But I'm going to organize it and I'm going to rearrange it. Right. And new room because my bed's in a different corner and all that.
Right.
Ridiculous.
And really, she just wanted you to pick up your socks and make your bed.
Right. And that would have been, I'm now understanding that I probably didn't know what a clean room meant. At that age.
Yeah.
But so just, anyway, Mom, you did great. Mm-hmm. Sorry. I don't mean to throw you. But I'm not, I swear. My hyperfixation, I've previewed this hyperfixation on Instagram a couple of times, but I have a new doggie in my life.
Yay!
And she's so sweet. Oh. Her name is Gracie. She is a princess. And when you adopt a dog who's older, you don't adopt a dog, you adopt a project, as my vet says. And she is a project, but that's why she's a princess, because she needs people taking care of her. But she's very sweet, and I'll put a picture of her in the blog post if you'd like to see, or follow us on Instagram and you'll get to see pictures of Gracie. And she is just so sweet. She's such a good girl.
She's so cute.
She's really cute. She kind of looks like a boxer, but she's not at all. She's a chili dog. She's a red heeler, which is just another word for a cattle dog, and a lab mix. So, and some beagle there too, but she's super cute. She's got spots on her. She's precious. Anyway, that's mine. Everything dog. All the dog. She's so cute. Okay. What did you get done? Did you get anything finally crossed off your list?
I finally went to the dentist for a cleaning
girl,
after more than 15 years. So I'm gonna be a little vulnerable here. So when we moved to North Carolina, considering the date, it literally 15 years ago.
Whoa.
To the day. Yeah, to the day. When we moved to North Carolina, we didn't have health insurance, let alone dental insurance. So obviously I wasn't going to the dentist if I didn't have dental insurance. And then when we would occasionally have spurts of time where we had dental insurance, now I was afraid to go.
Yep.
And B, had undiagnosed ADHD, so making an appointment for a thing that I didn't want to do was just not gonna happen.
Yeah.
And basically that just happened for 15 years. But I finally went I have to go back again. So they did the cleaning, and thankfully, thank genetics, I really did not have any problems.
Good.
Like huge problems.
Yeah.
Yeah. But to do the cleaning, they had to like numb one side of my mouth and then because they needed to like really get in there
Yeah.
to, yeah. And so they have to do it like, so your whole mouth isn't numb. So I had like my one appointment a couple of weeks ago, and then next week I have to go and get the other side of my mouth done. And it was, I mean, I was still really, really anxious, but I have to give this dental practice, which is a new practice to me, credit, because it was not as awful and terrifying as I thought it was going to be. So
that's great. That's so good.
Yeah, so if you're a person out there who's like, especially if you've got ADHD and you struggle with those hygiene tasks, like, you know, give yourself some grace and it will be okay.
Yeah, it'll come together.
Yeah.
I mean, this is why I'm convinced that I would love to have like a personal assistant who just like manages that kind of thing. Right? Mm-hmm. What's the line from Ali Wong, where she's like, "Do you know how much more successful I would be if I had a wife, like someone to like make your appointments and all?" Yeah. So for sure, that's great though. I'm glad you did that. Oral health is super important. It's a big deal. So I'm glad you took some pretty proactive steps. That's amazing. Thanks. Mine is that I finally, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. Nope, being vulnerable. Being vulnerable is fine. Okay, it's probably real for a lot of people, I hope. I finally put away all of the travel crap that I got out from the trip to London that I took in January. January, just so we're clear. It's like all this stuff, you know, it's like this is my carry-on like backpack thing that I have where I can put an entire amount of clothing, and then this is the Mary Poppins thing that I have for all of my toiletries, and it was just sitting in a laundry basket on the floor of my room. It's January and I finally put it away. In fairness, I'm going to blame my husband because it goes in the guest room, and I don't like going in the guest room because it's like his personal like golf repository of stuff, and there's just like boxes and the floor is a mess, and I don't want to go in there. But I really could have put it away in the past 6 months. I just didn't do it. But I did it now.
I'm sure I still have stuff sitting out from our trip to New York, which happened about a month ago. And the only reason why it will get picked up is because I'm going to Georgia in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would probably sit there until Christmas.
Well, yeah.
I mean, if I'm being real.
Yeah. I'm just going to sit here and say, like, if I had any trips on the horizon right now, I would have just left it out. The only reason I put it away is because I knew I wasn't going to use it in the near future. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, I need a pat on the back for doing that. You get a pat on the back for going to the dentist.
All the back pats.
So, yes, you have toddler emotions, and that's totally okay. But next week, we're going to teach that toddler to use their inside voice. Yeah? Yeah. Or at least bribe it with some snacks. All good.
Yes.
And as Jenny would say, make good choices and take a deep breath, because you probably need to. Love you, mean it. Bye.
Bye.
Hey friends, thanks for listening to the CK and GK podcast. Find us at CK and GK podcast on Instagram and Twitter, and rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Good Pods, or anywhere else that you pod. See you next time.